Hello and welcome. Welcome to the 3 keys to detaching from the alcoholic. I am author and life coach Grace Wroldson. I'm happy to be here. This is from a PDF that I made for downloads, instant downloads for my group members of So You Love an Alcoholic support group. I'm happy to share my information with you, and this is my wisdom of this topic of having loved an alcoholic for 15 years and needing to save my sanity and myself. So welcome to this webinar presentation. If you're watching this on YouTube, please give it a like, post a comment, subscribe to my channel if you want to get some more free webinars that can help. If you're suffering from loving an alcoholic, I'm happy to be here to help with this situation. So I feel like it was often just a predicament that no one could understand. And I have fully understood what happened to me in that relationship. So let's jump in. Let's dive right into this 3 keys and the webinar. So who am I? I am the author of several books. These two are specific. If you love an alcoholic, my first book is the white one. So You Love an Alcoholic, Lessons for Codependent. My second one is a follow-up book. I loved an alcoholic but hated the drinking. My first book won a gold award and a silver award. It is 25 powerful lessons that I learned. And just know that if you love an alcoholic and you're suffering, know that you're not alone. I'm happy to be sharing my story. Hope you can relate and identify and get as much wisdom out of this as you can. So you're not alone. You can learn with me, heal with me, grow with me. These are my tips, tools, and strategies and survivor wisdom. I think survivor wisdom is so important. I had to talk to other women who loved alcoholics, and I'm also a certified life coach, and I loved an alcoholic for 15 years. I tried everything. I tried everything for him, and then eventually I tried everything for me. So when I got into codependency, recovery, meetings with Al-Anon, therapy, love addiction, trauma bond, narcissistic abuse recovery healing programs, when I healed, my life got better and the situation got better. I was not able to change, convince, influence, inspire a sick and suffering alcoholic to get better. I wasn't that powerful, and I couldn't force my will on another person, no matter how much I loved him. So I had to practice those 3 C's that you know about from the program. And I'm still practicing those 3 C's, that I didn't cause it, can't control it, and can't cure it, because I am not all powerful. And if my love and compassion could have fixed and saved him, it definitely would have, because I loved as much as I could. I gave as much as I could. I'm now over 12 years post that relationship, and 12 years of separation and recovery. It was so hard when I didn't want to leave, and I had a lot of false hope, and I was hanging on to the dream and gaslighting myself to stay there, because I thought I'd die from a broken heart. I invested so much time, and all my dreams were going to go out the window if I broke up with him. So I had to build new dreams and confront myself. So trying to get to my next slide here. Next slide is the book, the gold-winning book. It won for personal triumph. It is a personal triumph to have loved and been able to basically break my own heart to leave the person that I loved, and survive the broken heart. I was able to survive it, but it took a lot of understanding of what he was up against, who he was, what I was up against, who I was, the dynamic of like the empath versus the narcissist, or the codependent versus the alcoholic. I had to understand my role in things so that I could focus on myself and get better. This is my follow-up book. I loved an alcoholic but hated the drinking. 11 essential strategies to survive codependency and live in recovery with self-love. And that's what I do to this day. I live in recovery with self-love. I don't practice any more self-sabotage. I don't give in to self-doubt. I don't I don't have low self-esteem. I've built my self-esteem. I've empowered myself. I've moved from victim to survivor to thriver. And that took a lot of work and self-work, which, self-work is the most important work that you will ever do. So make sure that you have a program of self-care and self-work. I stepped into the self-love solution, and I'll talk about that later. If you want to check out my free blog, you can go to my website. It's myname.com and check out what I offer in terms of my free blog or any other information. This is going to be the full 3 keys for detaching from the alcoholic to get your sanity and peace back. You can sign up for my monthly newsletter. I'll put the link below, which gives you instant access to the PDF. If you want to reclaim your life with detachment, then please learn all you can. I'll just do a quick disclaimer. I'm not a licensed therapist or counselor. These are my opinions only. Some of my information or tools and tips won't apply to you. You have to use your counselor, your own good common sense, and I can't be liable for any damages, injury, or loss as the result of using these, because this is just for like self-help, self-knowledge, but you really got to be working with a therapist, a counselor. Oftentimes, if you are detaching from the alcoholic and the alcoholic has an underlying personality disorder that you do or don't know about, it can become abusive or violent. They can sense that. So you have to be smart, be safe, tread carefully, and probably even get a lawyer or a consultation. If you're starting to detach and they sense it, it could get ugly. And you may need legal representation to protect your interests, your rights, your child custody, your house. Just know that that is important, and I can't offer you any advice on that. I'm only offering you some ideas for some solutions. So my tip number 1, I have 3 tips and then 3 keys, is, what is detachment? You got to learn. And, if you're not reading my book, So You Love an Alcoholic, Lessons for Codependent, maybe you're reading Melanie Beattie's Codependent No More. I did several times. Or I went to Al-Anon meetings. So be learning about detachment. If you're in Al-Anon, the back of the book has all different readings on detachment. But detachment is a tool. This is how I understand it. A coping mechanism, a survival strategy, and for me, it's a boundary with self. So it's, I'm defining detachment as emotional detachment, referring to being disconnected, disengaged from the feelings, actions, words, thoughts of other people. So that's how I'm understanding it and talking about it. And you want to detach from the drama, trauma, and chaos. So if you are sick and tired of complaining, be ready for solutions, and detachment is a solution. I always call it detach and shield, because when you're stepping away from someone, there might be boundary backlash, and you need to shield yourself from any negative comments, criticisms, name calling, false accusations, threats. You might have to detach and shield, detachment can be very much like a boundary. But sometimes it starts with our mind and emotions first. And tip number 2 would be to practice this. It's a new behavior, and you need time to implement. So you might start by letting go of things, small things. You might start by separating things. You might start by setting boundaries with yourself. I always say set boundaries with yourself before others, and don't expect boundary crossing, disrespectful people to respect your boundaries. Just set these boundaries with yourself. And if you've got to set them with others, it may involve the law and they might still break it. So focus on the ones you can set with yourself. You tell them not to call you at night, don't answer the phone, kind of thing. You have your phone off at night. Ringer is off. Set that boundary with yourself. You can start with letting go of things and not caring so strongly. So if you are attached to something like the house, you might start slowly saying, okay, I can be happy if I live somewhere else and I don't have to hang on to this house. So I just want to put this note in, when we let go of others, we free up ourselves too. So when we offer someone else freedom, we are setting ourselves free too. So keep that in mind. And my tip number 3 is set the rules with yourselves. Like I said, stop trying to get others to respect you that don't respect anyone. Respect yourself first. Why would you want to detach? It's for self-preservation often. It's for self-respect, and it's for self-care. And mostly women use it for sanity. If you're anxious, if you're worrying, if you're fearful, if you're fretful, if you're obsessing about the alcoholic, you will have to detach from the fearful thoughts. One at a time, you'll have to detach from projecting negative outcomes. You'll have to detach from fearing the future. You'll have to learn to stay in the day. So there's so many things that you can practice with detachment. And some say that the root of all mental, emotional, psychological suffering is attachment. Some spiritual disciplines say that being attached is what's going to make you suffer. So understand, if you are suffering and if you have suffered enough, then detachment can be your solution and your key. So here are the 3 keys to detaching from the alcoholic if you want to stop the chaos and confusion and restore yourself to sanity and peace. Toxic attachments to the alcoholic. If you're a woman who loves an alcoholic man, you may be toxically attached. You may also have an unhealthy attachment to the outcome of the relationship. Sometimes we consider our relationship an investment that needs to pay out and benefit us. Sometimes we claim ownership of the person and the relationship and feel it's our job to fix everything. As a result, we may suffer a complex blend of obsessions and bad habits, such as having unreasonable expectations, caving into compulsions to be their caretaker, sinking into toxic codependency, and being caught in problematic love addiction, all of which can be very tough to break and can turn into our new pain-filled normal. We may also have trauma bonds to the alcoholic, which can keep us severely stuck. As we spend all our energy worrying about the alcoholic in our life, we often don't see what's happening to us. Detachment is key. Detachment can be key to recovering your sanity, coping with the chaos, and surviving the progression of a partner's alcoholism. More so, it can stop codependency from creeping into our lives and taking over. Too much victimization can lead to a very detrimental victim mentality. When detaching, you get a chance to break off the fixation on the alcoholic and come up for oxygen and see yourself. Detachment is a powerful tool and is often the first step in healing. Detaching is a choice and skill. First, we start by being willing. By detaching, you can not only recover yourself and your life, but also your joy and happiness. Painful attachments to the alcoholic. The fact is, it's painful to be attached to an alcoholic. It hurts to be hooked on someone that causes continual unhappiness. Being enmeshed with a sick and suffering person is sickening to even the healthiest of us. Being exposed to continual disrespect shatters both self-worth and self-esteem. Watching someone's downfall and depression is also depressing. Being connected to gaslighting, negativity, constant criticisms, and crazy making can cause feelings of insanity. Using denial to believe their lies is subscribing to lies, diminishes us. We not only lose trust in the alcoholic, but in ourselves. This is harmful, unhealthy, and needs to be addressed. What can you do? Detach. When holding on doesn't help, it's often crucial to detach, or critical to detach. In the long run, holding on tightly doesn't always save the alcoholic or the relationship, and investing more time, energy, and resources doesn't always pay out. That's the reality. Holding on can drain you in more ways than one, crippling you and suffocating the relationship. In hope of remaining attached, you might do all kinds of self-sabotaging behavior, insisting that we get a healthy, happy relationship from an ill man doesn't make any sense. Sometimes it can even destroy our physical health to keep holding on. If it's time to detach and survive, use the following keys, which are based on my 15-year experience with an alcoholic for over a decade now, I've been happily detached. I save myself and my life starting with detachment, and you can too. So I just want to recommend this disclaimer before we move on. It's important that you are, realizing that you have to really get help with detachment from any support professionals who can work with you. This isn't something that you can just take and run with. So make sure that you're running this stuff by your therapist, your DV counselor, to see if any of what I'm saying is helpful for you. So the 3 keys to detaching from the alcoholic, my number 1 is to emotionally uninvest. If you care too much, you may have so much bound up energy locking you in place. Overinvesting is a powerful lock. It can be an obstacle to our personal healing and growth. It is essential for our healing to disconnect from draining activities in order to reconnect to things that restore us. If you're invested in attaining specific outcomes, we might be tightly holding on to something that's actually harmful. This is just one way an unhealthy attachment forms. We give, and thus we get attached to the results. As a result of this, we have to stop emotionally investing, as hard as it is. Self-preservation is a must. If we find that we're connected or concerned and care more about the alcoholic getting sober than he is, we need to take notice. If we know we're the only ones working hard to hold the relationship together, we need to be mindful of this. If we are losing ourselves in the relationship, we need to acknowledge this. If the future with the alcoholic is looking bleak and dismal, perhaps we should invest in our future elsewhere instead. If we divested from the alcoholic relationship, we would save time and free up energy to invest in other things, namely ourselves. Check yourself. Do you need to work on your health, finances, friendships, Al-Anon or Codependency recovery program? When we decide to pull back our energy and emotions from a bottomless pit, we free up energy to take care of things that will benefit our health. The bottom line for me was that I couldn't get a healthy relationship from an unhealthy man, no matter how much I wanted it and no matter how long I tried or waited. I held on to false hope and fairy tale dreams to the point that they almost destroyed me. I call that my codependent bottom, and you can learn the 25 powerful lessons from all my efforts in my book, Soul of an Alcoholic, Lessons for a Codependent, which is available on Amazon. Number 2, see yourself or see the alcoholic as separate. I used to say my alcoholic, like I owned him. I felt like he was my man, which had me holding on way too tight. We need to release any type of mental ownership we have on the alcoholic because they aren't totally ours. We don't own another human being, and we need to see the alcoholic as a separate person. They aren't you and you aren't them. They are unique and different, and so are you. They have a path in life with lessons and consequences they need to learn. They have to realize on their own how they currently are or who they are becoming. Most importantly, you have different lessons to learn. You can check out my blog of my 10 do's and don'ts for loving an alcoholic on my website. When we see them, the alcoholic, is separate and not ours, this allows our minds to let go of its claim and hold. We aren't their mothers and can't be. They're grown adults with problems. We aren't their teacher, trainer, sponsor, life coach, or law enforcement either. If we are in a romantic relationship with an alcoholic, we have a relationship role. They're required to come to the relationship willing and healthy enough to participate. We can't take on many different roles, 10 different roles, such as crisis caseworker and medical detox nursing staff. We are only one person, and going beyond our roles overextends us. It also creates bitterness because it's unfair to us. They are a separate person with a problem that often needs professional support. If our love and compassion could heal them, it would have. They're on a journey and need to learn their lessons. Instead, we have to focus on our own. What are you learning? No, we can't learn their lessons for them. That's important to keep in mind. Number 3, see yourself as separate. Have you taken any time for yourself? Do you see your value as a person? Someone who's loving, caring, compassionate, empathetic, organized, and committed can do wonders for those in need. Those we help that are in need can't be lazy, apathetic, full-grown adults with rights, including the right to fail. Our help is best served in populations that need us and for those who can't care for themselves, such as the elderly, children, and animals. We are typically caregivers who often get burnt out on one alcoholic codependent relationship and unable to contribute our gifts to society. Can you relate to this? You're unique. You have gifts. You are walking a different path in life. You are a separate person who has different needs, wants, desires, goals, and missions. Different things interest you and matter to you. You are not the same as the alcoholic, even if there is a common interest or commonalities. Being different is okay. See yourself as a person of worth and value, having much to offer those in need. It's often said that we can't help those closest to us, but we can still help in the world around us. We have drives and impulses that we must honor. See yourself on a separate path in life as you do not have to limp along in life clinging to someone who won't get help and whom you can't help. In many cases, helping enables them to not get help. See yourself as a separate person with a separate path to follow. Constantly helping the alcoholic often distracts us from helping ourselves. See yourself for a change and realize what's happening to you. Bonus tip. Replace what you are attached to. After you decide to attach to something good, positive, healthy. Invest yourself in things that make you healthy and free. Many recovery programs suggest a higher power, so you're able to attach to something untouched by alcoholism and codependency. To fill the gap, you could attach to anything that's healthy and sustains you. It could be a yoga practice, a spiritual discipline, a health program, or a recovery program like Al-Anon, ACA, or CODA. There will be a void that you will have to consciously and mindfully fill. Make healthy, sustainable choices. Some women use Al-Anon meetings to attach themselves to a personal recovery program. The thing is, we don't have to go into a free fall after we let go. Instead, we can tie a rope onto a floating ship and learn to swim. We can anchor into something healthy. Learn all you can from those programs that deal specifically with this dilemma. Wisdom is powerful, and hearing stories of survival can give you hope. Whether it's a program that targets codependency, deals with alcoholism, or addresses narcissistic abuse, many domestic violence agencies run peer-to-peer support groups as well. And then make sure you enjoy the benefits. When you have detached, don't fall for any guilt trips from the alcoholic that can take away your healthy living and happiness. They often become jealous, irritated, and annoyed because they aren't the center of attention anymore. You must hold your ground and understand the emotional backlash and tantrums that grown adults often have, which is a form of manipulation they use when losing control over their caretakers. Being emotionally free is a beautiful gift we can give ourselves. If the alcoholic's an abuser also needs to go after their own gifts and freedom from substances, and they need to mature. Holding us emotionally hostage isn't going to help them or lead them to sobriety. Fighting and arguing with us doesn't help them get the help that they need. They need to focus on getting their own help. Enjoy what you can do for yourself with detachment. Many of us have had to fight for our freedom, working hard to block out negative comments and care for ourselves. If there is any abuse, get counseling from a local domestic violence agency. If that's safe for you to do so, emotional and verbal abuse is still abuse. We may not often recognize the abuse we have lived with for years with an alcoholic. We can transition through the stages of denial, awareness, and detachment with the help and support of those around us. If you're dealing with an angry alcoholic, you may need therapy or counseling to work through your pain. Seek therapy and address your fears if you are faced with feelings of abandonment or trauma or PTSD. Most of all, don't abandon yourself. Learn to self-partner and step into what I call the self-love solution. So if you're just joining us, I'm Grace Wroldson, mother, survivor, thriver, certified life coach, award-winning author of 5 books available on Amazon. I spent 15 years loving an alcoholic and tried everything to get him sober to save our relationship. I spent 20 years in Al-Anon and I studied AA myself. When loving him and didn't fix him or save him, I had to fight to save myself and give myself a new life of sanity, peace, and freedom. With self-love, I enjoyed being single and raised a child safely outside of an alcoholic home for over a decade. So what are your next steps? It's important for me to say that you will still have to do work after detaching from the alcoholic. You might have to detach over and over and over again. There's often aftershock, tons of grief to process, self-discipline to master, obsessions to overcome, common sense to be restored, and more. So stay on the path towards thriving as you survive the closure of a toxic relationship or a toxic attachment. You can make it and you can emerge stronger than before. So believe in yourself. Here are some things you can do for yourself. I'll give you 3. You can start by learning my 25 powerful lessons in transform from being codependently attached to healthy and free. Your knowledge is power and freedom is the gift we give ourselves. So you can pick up my first book, my follow-up book on Amazon, and I'm going to offer you some more things that I have to help. I have a support group, and it's So You Love an Alcoholic support group on Facebook. You're welcome to join us there. We post weekly things to help you stay connected and supported with others who are in a similar situation. This is for women only. Eventually in the future, I might hold a men's group. And we often have the first Wednesday of every month as a free support group. These might be by small minimum fee in the next few years, because I noticed that when people pay to come, they come and they get more out of it. If you need, regular daily groups, try the Al-Anon telephone free meetings. Those are daily. When we go in a group, we read from one of the lessons of the 25 lessons from my book. We do self-reflection questions, and then we share on the topic anonymously and safely. I always say, sure, you love him, but is it time to love yourself more? So I loved him so much, and I loved him at the expense of not loving myself. And I had to make a decision to love myself, even if I started with just a little bit. So if you are self-sabotaging and you don't love yourself, you don't care about yourself, start with just little bits. And that will add up to a whole lot of self-love once you get the confidence and start stepping forward. This is my book that I'm working on next. It's Stepping into the Self-Love Solution, a daily reader. I know daily readers were so helpful for me coming out of a relationship and staying detached from the alcoholic, staying detached from my codependency. I had to daily get my mind set right and straight. I had to choose every healthy option and stop any self-destructive thing that I was doing to my life. I no longer blame the alcoholic. I just take responsibility for my part. And I'm able to process and feel and heal from pain. I'm no longer afraid to grieve and feel the pain of a heartbreak or sadness. So once you overcome those fears, you can just let yourself feel those feelings of grief. If the relationship has to end, or in my case, when I detached, he went and immediately cheated on me. So I had to grieve that and deal with my own jealousy issues and choose me. When he couldn't figure out which girl to choose, I chose for him because I chose me. And that is much of my story. I just recently made a how to break trauma bonds video. So if you look in the video description, there will be a link. And there's 200 powerful ways to break, destroy, and rebuild after trauma bonding. There's two things I didn't know. One, that the alcoholic had a couple personality disorders, which is why he kept denying he had a problem. And two, that I was trauma bonded because he would cheat and come back and fix the pain, quote unquote, fix the pain that he had caused that shattered my self-esteem. And I was bonding to him through trauma. And that was so powerful. It was like sweating out, like I say, sweat out love addiction. It was hitting that codependent bottom. And I had to learn that this was a huge thing. So I had to also get into narcissistic abuse recovery programs because I didn't know he was a narcissist, and that narcissistic abuse syndrome was real. And there's a lot of PTSD, CPTSD involved, and that you may not even know you're being abused and traumatized. So look for that link. I offer, if you want to just get started and you want something to listen to, I offer a mini e-course. You get 1 email a week with some self-work to do, and you can listen to it or read it. And there's some songs in there to inspire you to love yourself, even if you've got to start, again, in increments. So I encourage you to check out that program. My newest book is an ebook, Loving an Alcoholic Without Losing Yourself. You might find this on Amazon if we convert that. So you can find all of this on my website, www.gracewroldson.com. I'll put the links below. If you know, I am a survivor, and I say you can learn with me, heal with me, and grow with me. And if you have children involved and you discover that he is a covert narcissist, or he is a sociopath, or has a personality disorder, you might want to pick up my other books on co-parenting with a narcissist and how to keep you and your kids safe if you have to go through the family court battle, which I hope you don't ever have to do. The next thing is Breaking Free of Codependency Forever video. I do have 3 keys to get out of relationship hell and be happy and free. I do. And I'm putting that video course together, an easy online training with all of my wisdom, basically a lot of common sense and logic. You know, the truth will set you free. Well, the truth will also heal you. So I'm speaking the truth and directly what worked for me to break free of codependency forever. And I hope that you find this video when it's available. If you want, you can come on Clubhouse and listen to any of my rooms. I do have a Love an Alcoholic, Women Who Love Alcoholics room. There are replays in there for topics. So go ahead, join that, get that free social listening app, go to my room. And it's Women Who Love Alcoholics. Listen to some replays, learn all you can from me. I'm Grace Wroldson. Glad you were here with my 3 keys to detaching from the alcoholic. I'll just say that many people say that you got to detach from the behavior and not the person. And I find that almost impossible. Mentally, I could do it for a short period of time. But if that person was constantly the source of all of the problems, I had to learn to detach from the problem person. So if an alcoholic has narcissistic personality disorder, for example, that's a disorder. And I couldn't get order from disorder. It was constant disorder. And he was a person with a lot of problems, and that was creating a lot of issues and things, drama, trauma, and chaos. So in order to detach from that drama, trauma, and chaos, I had to detach from the person causing the drama, trauma, and chaos. And I had to detach from my dreams and the life and everything that I built up. And it's not an easy thing. That's why my book is about a transformation process. You see that blue butterfly? It's about codependently crawling on the ground like a caterpillar, getting in the cocoon of self-love, staging a little bit of our own narcissism for healing, which is essential, and then breaking free, a butterfly, learning forgiveness, learning how to enjoy our freedom. But I was so afraid to be alone, and I didn't realize that solitude in that cocoon of self-love and care and programs and healing and therapy was exactly what I needed. So if you're ready to face your fears, or if you're ready to learn about how to transform, pick up that book, So You Love an Alcoholic, Lessons for Codependent, and start reading lessons 1 through 25. You'll see that I am detaching from unhealthy thinking and attaching to healthier thoughts. So I wish that for you. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you got something out of this. Please, if you got one thing out of this that spoke to you really, really strongly, whatever your takeaway is, will you comment below so that I can see that you're learning, so you can affirm what you are learning and taking away from this free webinar. So thank you so much. I hope to have you join and subscribe to my newsletter and my blog and my YouTube channel. So thank you so much for being here. Have a good day, everyone.